equals to 2 in that case. In other words, I'm executing column F. Okay, the statement of F21 is executed in the context of column D and column E. Is that okay? So this is a brand new invocation. It's a brand new invocation that has nothing to do with what I have done before. Forget about line 6 in the pseudocode. Line 6 now looks like this. So I have to invoke S3 again. As a result of invoking S3 again, but executing in the context of column D and column E, I have to reset up return info and reset up column G, in this case for parameter n. Are we doing okay so far with that? Is that okay? Sort of? Okay. So if we are convinced that we have to execute invoke S3 n minus 1 goes to n again, that these two rows set up the columns that I need for that particular invocation. Once I set up the columns, column F and column G for the invocation, I start to executing in the subroutine. The subroutine is S3 again, which starts on line 3. And that's why on row 25 of the trace, we execute line 3 again. And in this case, n equals to 1, which means n equals to 0 is false. And that tells me I have to go to line 6. Line 6 looks exactly like this, because this is the first time we get to this line 6 in this invocation. We have not been here before as far as this invocation goes. That's why we have to set up column H and column I like this, because we are going to take care of the left invocation first, and then after that we have to take care of the right invocation. Is that okay so far? I mean, it is confusing, but if you look at what you have to do line by line and just using the mechanism, it is the same mechanism that we have basically gone through the whole semester, I mean, the last 2 weeks or so. Okay. Let me just finish this, and then we'll take a look here, take a step back and look at the overall shape of this whole thing. Okay, so we are on row 27 right now. I just set up both of the columns, column H and column I, which means I'm ready to go into the subroutine, start executing from the beginning of the subroutine again. This time, I'm starting with line 3 again, just like usual. N equals to 0 is false again. Oops, it's true, sorry. Forgot about that. Okay, it is true, which means we go to line 4. Line 4 is saying I just need to return 1. Whenever you execute a return statement, what you have to do is to go find the return info cell, copy and paste it, and replace a question mark with the value that you're returning. So the question is, which return info cells am I supposed to use?
H.
The rightmost one, which is column H. So we take this one, copy and paste it, change the question mark to the value I'm returning, which is 1, and I'm done. This is what line 4 should do. Okay? It's just resolving what the question mark should be. Yep?
Since we're using, on G24, we're using n as 1, and we used it again, the same thing previously. Couldn't we just copy the whole thing? I mean, it's the same thing, right?
Yes, we could. We could have copied and pasted the whole thing. But I wanted to do it again just to make sure that people understand that in general, you cannot use a copy and paste. In this case, yes, but in general, we cannot. I'll show you an example why you cannot, okay? Which also helps to explain the evilness of global variables. So we probably have enough time to do that. So after line 4, we go to line 8, because line 4 is the end of the then branch. When we go to line 8, we deallocate both of these columns, and then we have to go back to line 6. Now when we get back to line 6 now looks like what H29 is saying. Okay, so we are executing H29, but in the context of column F and column G, which means that we still have one more invocation to go, in this case, because the right-hand side is not done yet. but n equals to 1, the n on the left-hand side is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So what that means is I have to immediately reallocate column H and column I for return info in n again. And this time line 6 will look like return 1 plus question mark, because I am taking care of the invocation on the right-hand side. And n will be 0 again, because 1 minus 1 is 0. We go back to line 3. N equals 0 is true. We go to line 4. We execute the return statement. We copy and paste the return info cell, which is a little typo here. And we replace the question mark with the value we are returning on line 4, which is 1. And we go to line 8. We deallocate those two columns. And then we execute, we go back to line 6. According to the return info, we go back to line 6. Now this time when we go back to line 6, do we have anything else to do before we actually perform the return portion of the action?
No.
There's nothing else to do, right? No more invocations. We are just returning 2 in this case. So we'll go ahead and execute H34 in this case, but using column F and column G as my context, which means I'm going to find this as my return info cell, copy and paste it, and change that question mark to a value of 2. Okay? But I do not execute F36 in this case. I'm done by executing H34. It's starting to sound like, a chess game, with all the board moves, and all that stuff. Well, recursion is like that. If you spell out recursion, this is exactly what it is. Okay, after line 6, okay, tell me again, what did I do on line 6? Okay, of row 36. What happened on row 36? What did I execute? What did I change?
Question mark on the right.
Okay, I executed which statement? I executed the statement that is in H34. H34 is my verb. It tells me what to do. What did I do with 2? Okay, this tells me I have to go find a question mark and change it to 2.
F24 is what
Exactly. F24 is the object. Okay, and the result is F36. Okay, so if you break up the operation to what I have to do, what am I doing it to, and what is the result, those are the 3 pieces. Okay. I'm done with line 6. I move on to line 8. Line 8 is the deallocation of the columns for this invocation. And column F is telling me that I have to go back to line 6 again. So this time I'm executing. Okay, is there anything else to do with F36? Are there any more invocations I have to do? Everything is fully resolved, right? 2 plus 2, I can figure out that's 4. I'm going to execute return 4 because F36 tells me that I have to go back to line 6 and execute return 4. That means I have to go find a return info cell, copy and paste it, and replace the question mark with a value of 4. Well, I'm using column D as my context in this case, so that means I have to use column D, copy and paste it, and replace the question mark with 4 in this case. In other words, at this point, when I execute row 38 of the trace is executing the statement of F36. It's using D6 as the object, okay, the thing that I perform the operation on, and the result of the operation is D38. That's the result. Okay? Any questions at this point? And then we are done with line 6. We go to line 8 again. Line 8 is the end of a subroutine. We deallocate the columns that we have previously allocated, just like that. And then where do we go back to? We go back to line 10, because that's exactly what the purpose of return info is, to tell me where to go back to and what else do I have to do on that line. So that's why we are going back to line 10 in this case, and we try to execute D38. Is there any invocation left to do? Okay, so D38 is my verb. It tells me what to do. And column C, in this case, is my context. But there's nothing else I need. I don't need to know the context anymore because I just need to print a value of 4. And that's the effect, that's the result of printing a value of 4 on line 10. After line 10, I go to line 11. Line 11 is going to deallocate the only column used in the main subroutine. And if you look it up here, it tells me the return line number, in this case, tells me to go back to post. And we go back to post, and that's the end of the entire trace. Yep.
Does this algorithm calculate 2 to the power of n?
Yes. In a very long and clumsy and confusing way, yes. Are we doing okay with this? I mean, kind of, or?
Yes. I didn't do this anywhere near right, but I came up with the exact same answer of 4.
Yeah, I understand too. I got 4, but I didn't do it that way.
Okay, but in an exam, it's the trace that counts, not the final answer that counts.
Basically, that boils down.
That's about what
But
I
it's a
did.
good thing that we talk about it as a homework assignment first, before the final exam, because in the final exam it's going to be the trace that counts. Whether you know which cell is the action, which cell is the verb, which cell is the object, and which cell becomes the result.
Right, and this is going to be safe, so we can be out of this, correct?
In fact, I'll do it now.
I have a question for the other students in here. Did anybody get this thing done right? No.
I have no
Anybody
idea.
get it done right?
Okay.
So you got it. So it looks exactly like it.
Like, for the most part.
I don't know if anybody got it to look exactly like that.
Yep.
Because if you
Only
did, I need you to
execute the
study for the
left-hand
final.
side and the right-hand side.
Sorry?
If I only execute the left-hand side, but I didn't do the right-hand side.
That would not be entirely right either, because
Right,
because the
but-
two invocations are two separate invocations.
Yes. But my question is, would I get partial credit?
You will get partial credit. I think for this class, from the reaction from the class, I think the entire class is going to get partial credit. So what I can do is to turn this into an extra credit assignment and give you another one similar to this one, and then you guys can work with the other one.
Could you do that? I would like more practice with this one.
Okay.
This one tore me up.
But this one truly tests whether you understand recursion and also the mechanism of returning a value. Okay. So what makes it confusing? Okay, there are several things that somewhat makes this confusing, but we addressed every single one of those in the class separately, and this is the only time we kind of put it all back together into the same pot. Yep.
Could you zoom it out so I can see the
Yeah,
whole thing?
Absolutely. Just hold on a second. Let me do that.
I wouldn't. The part that really broke it for me was the multiple invocations. That's where I really blew it.
Okay. I just hit a few columns, so I have to. Okay, I think I can do the unhide from somewhere. I just hit some columns. I have to unhide those rows.
You can't right-click on them and say unhide like you can on.
Show. There we go. Oh, the object gets moved around too. That's not good.
It's okay, I just want to see the shape. I don't care
I
about
want to see the
bubbles.
shape too. You can delete the object.
Okay. Let me show you the shape.
Will you move the object back before you save?
Hmm?
Will you move object back?
That's the shape. Is it okay? I mean, it goes out. It actually comes back in and then immediately expands out again because those two columns got reused immediately. And they get retracted, expanded.